that you make it. I feel like a maze that I can't see a way out. I've been stacking face down off canvases I painted. I just spent the rain day on drip I can't afford, but that's the price I pay for the memories I'm making. I've been going places, I've been shaking hands for a chance to really make it. This life is so abrasive, so I almost gave it. All this that I'm laying.
Welcome to today's episode of Grind Hard, Hustle Smart. Ladies and gentlemen, we're just going to get right into it. Today, we're going to talk about something that should be talked about a lot more than what it really is. And it's at the heart of many of the problems that we experience in life as men and women. But one gender doesn't get talked about enough, and that is mental health and from the man's perspective. And it's something that goes unseen, unheard, oftentimes is frowned upon, because we're always supposed to be these strong, magnificent frames, pictures, models, statues of manhood and being tough and strong and rigid, unbreakable. But many of the things that have come to light in the things that we have seen, whether it be in pop culture and media, are personalized each and every single day, is the degradation of mental health. And when we talk about health in general, I think we should talk about that in a broader sense, in the terms of mind, body, and soul, spirit, whatever you want to name that third one. We should talk about it in that arena, in the trio, the trifecta of health: mind, body, and soul. And the first one being mind. Mental health is very, 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 very important. And it goes unnoticed and oftentimes is frowned upon if you don't have that first one together, because everybody just assumes that everybody is mentally stable or healthy enough to interact with people socially or sexually or emotionally. But more often than not, we find that that's not the case. And the reason being is because we don't prioritize our mental health. We don't prioritize the mental health of others. We don't show people grace and mercy when it comes to these things, nor do we seek help when we notice that our own mental health is lacking in some type of way, because we don't want to be seen as weak, as vulnerable, as not rigid, strong, tough, have that intestinal and that mental fortitude to keep going and not give up. And it weighs on us greatly. It weighs on us very heavily. And many people don't understand that people are out here suffering, not just economically or financially, not just physically, but mentally. And we're taking a very, very deep mental cut that is going unhealed, unnoticed, and we're bleeding out the life essence of people who are suffering from mental health. They're bleeding out. And I'll use my own self as an example. I suffer from depression. I have suffered with mental health in the past. I still do. Every day is a building block to get healthier and healthier and healthier. And no one really knows for sure what mental health looks like when you're 100%. Can we be, as human beings, 100%? We don't know, nor do we know what 100% looks like, because we all hit stressors throughout the day, triggers that remind us of past traumas or things that we healed from or scars that we have accumulated over the years.
Yeah, I think I look pretty, good, you know what I'm saying? Let me go ahead and record this podcast, before I go live. Oh, snap. Yo, what's up? Well, since you're here, why don't you take this time right now to subscribe, like, comment, and share this channel. You can find me on all the major podcast platforms, and obviously you can find me here on YouTube at Grind Hard, Hustle Smart. You can also find me at thecharlesjohnson.com. That's the website. thecharlesjohnson.com. You can also get merch from our store, thegrindishard.com. Don't forget to tell your friends, tell your family members. Let's get out here, grind hard, and work hard each and every single day, but hustle smart while we're at it. Let's get it.
So I can't say for sure what it looks like, but we can get better. One of the people that I listen to a lot about mental health is, if you haven't heard of him, number one, where you been at? Number two, you need to go watch this show. His name is Charlemagne the God. He's one of the hosts on Breakfast Club with Angela and DJ Envy. And he talks about mental health all the time, which is very, very good. I appreciate the fact that he brings these things to light often and regularly, because it goes unseen. These are unseen wounds. You know, me as a veteran, the thing that comes to mind more than often is, trauma, PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome. Back in the day, they used to call it shock syndrome, right? And so one of the things, or what's the term? What's the word I'm looking for? War fatigue. There you go. But that comes to mind, and it brings to light many, many things. I wear this bracelet each and every single day. I wear this bracelet every single day, and I never take it off. And the reason being, I want to constantly remind myself that, number one, I'm grateful to be here each and every single day. And number two, I've been blessed having served my country. And the third thing is that I can never ever forget the people that serve after me, and those who serve with me, and those who serve before me, and that each one of those stages are suffering from something. We have all, if you joined the military during 2000 and 1999 or whenever you joined before 9/11, up until now, we've been a generation raised in war, whether it be in Afghanistan, whether it be in Iraq. We've been at war for a very long time. And so we've all lost friends or known people that have lost people. And I wear this bracelet to remind myself. It says 22 a day. It's from the Till Valhalla project. And they have these bracelets. And the average veteran suicide per day is like 22 per day, which is a crazy amount. I can't even wrap my mind around that. Because I know people, there's sometimes as small as 22 people in one platoon of a company. That's a whole platoon gone a day. 22 people. And I'm grateful, number one, that I never experienced the type of trauma that some of these people, some of our veterans, which I am a group of, have experienced. And number two, it's a constant struggle which many people don't know if you suffer from depression or PTSD or some mental, drain or some mental illness, is that it's often a constant struggle to maintain sanity at times, to know the difference between fact and fiction, reality and fantasy. And this is something that a lot of people don't understand. And oftentimes, for those who are looking from the outside in, are like, why don't you just get better? Why don't you just get better? Why don't you go to counseling? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And people don't understand that most of the time, people who are suffering from some type of mental illness, they want help. They want it. They don't want to be in the condition that they're in. And it's easy enough to say, go get help. Just like it's easy for people to say, just quit cigarettes, quit drinking, quit doing drugs, say no. But we don't realize that these individuals, which I myself, sometimes I'm a part of, not the addiction side, but the, depression, mental illness side, we're spiraling. We're spiraling. It's one catastrophic event after another. It can be something that triggers it. We see something, hear something, somebody says something. It can be a feeling, and it puts you back in that situation. That even if you're not experiencing that thing anymore, you go back to it, and it feels as if it's real, like you're in a dream that you can't wake up from. And then there's the other thing where if you go and seek help, and you honestly go and you sit in that chair and you tell your psychologist or your therapist or your psychiatrist the things that you are experiencing, the thoughts that pop up in your mind, it makes you feel like you're not a part of this world, like you're crazy. And you often wonder, are they going to lock me up for the things that I want to say out of my mouth? Because, Charles, I can tell you for fact, because I tell people all the time, I'm never going to get on here and talk about things I do not experience. I'm never going to get on here and talk about things that I don't aspire to become. I'm 100% human. I'm not above the crowd, below the crowd. I'm in the crowd. I'm one of you, just a regular old guy. And so I always want people to know my perspective and to know that I'm in it with them at all times. And so, yes, I have had suicidal ideations. I have had thoughts of, dread, where I'm like, you know what, this world, my children, my family would be better off without me. I've had those thoughts. And this is real from the heart. I'm not telling you something I haven't experienced before. But when you go in these downward spirals, just like any form of momentum, it's hard to get a hold of. It's hard to stop. It's like a train, full speed ahead, and then the engineer applying the brakes and hoping that it will stop in time before it hits the car, before it derails or something catastrophic, something traumatic happens. That's what it feels like. So mental health is a big deal. When we talk about health in general, we need to talk about it in a trifecta that it should be spoken about. Mind, body, and soul. I go to the gym and I work out my body and I do cardio to work out my cardiovascular system. And I go through resistance and strength training to work out my skeletal musculatory system, right? I do that repetitively over time, and my body will adapt and get better and better at whatever exercise I'm executing day in and day out. But how often do we do that mentally? How often do we put ourselves through some sort of mental exercise or some sort of mental relief, a vacation? Letting go the stressors of the day. Letting go the stresses of work, of family life, school, or life in general. What does life look like? What's the outlook on life? We spend a whole lot of time worrying about things, constantly in our mind, going through this what-if scenario, and it never ends. Stressing ourselves out for no good reason. We don't sit back and relax, live in the moment, enjoy the now. Take a load off of our minds. Begin to dissect ourselves and get to know who we are. So that when we get to that equilibrium, that state where we can begin to work, to grow, we'll know who we are, and we begin to build every building block one after another so that we can get better and better and better. And we need to do this with repetition, reps. Just like you work out your muscles, you do 10 reps, 3 sets. You do the same thing with your mind. Take a load off, decide to read a book, go get counseling. Do 1 minute of relaxation, breathing, meditation, praying, whatever it is you do to take the load off, to take that mental anguish off for that moment in time, do it. or if it's walking yourself back from the ledge. Because many of us have experienced that. You got to walk yourself back from the ledge slowly, one step at a time, so that you can get a grasp on where you are and how you ended up where you are, so that you don't take a misstep and end up falling and committing some type of, suicide, mentally, physically, emotionally, or spiritually. Some of us are dead inside. We're just walking around physically. We're emotionally drained, mentally drained, exhausted. Sometimes we got to step back from that ledge. Take that vacation that you've been wanting to take. Go to that counseling session that you've been putting off. Go talk to a friend. Decompress. Read a book. Do whatever you got to do to just take a load off your mind. Life goes on beyond our catastrophic events. I promise you that. Life goes on beyond our catastrophic events. Dave Chappelle had this great saying, and he was talking about this African proverb of the elephant. And if you stand too close to the elephant, he said, you can't see the whole elephant. But if you take some steps back, then you can get a picture of the entirety of this great, majestic animal. And I'm paraphrasing. But do we do that enough in our own lives? Do we take a step back to gain some perspective, walk ourselves back from the ledge, and understand that there's something beautiful in front of us? There's a future beyond what we're currently experiencing. Whether it be our family, whether it be our prospects at a better occupation, whether it be a better future, in general, whether it be that vacation, behind that elephant, behind that catastrophic event is Jamaica, Barbados, Asia, Europe, whatever vacation spot you're going to. Take that step back. That better job that you are looking for is behind that elephant. Take your step back from that catastrophic event and take perspective. And yes, the elephant will need to be dealt with. Oftentimes you hear the saying, let's take care of the elephant in the room. That's what we're talking about. Let's take care of the obvious. Okay, let's step back from the elephant. We know that the elephant exists. We know that the problem exists. We know that the catastrophic event exists. We know that something's triggered you. Let's take a step back and gain perspective of the entirety of the problem so that we can get beyond it. Yes, sometimes we need to go to counseling to deal with our elephants. Somebody that is a lot further steps back from the elephant than we are currently experiencing, that can give us some insight to the perspective that we're talking about. Give us that third person perspective, that outside view. Because oftentimes it can feel we're too close to the event. We can't gain perspective because all we see is the event, the problem, whether it be we don't have enough money to pay bills, whether it be divorce, whether it be separation, whether it be we can't see our kids, whether it be, suicidal ideations, whether it be whatever it is. We're too close. And we need somebody to come in and remind us that there's something beyond the elephant. You go to Africa and you go to the safari. You walk up to the elephant and it's this close. What if you just had that perspective all day and you don't realize the whole savannah lays before you? There's lions, hyenas, birds, gazelle, zebra, a beautiful, beautiful sunset, sunrise, landscape behind that elephant. And if you just take a step back and realize what's beyond what's currently happening, you gain insight, you gain perspective. You start to see that your problem is not the entire picture. Your problem is just one organism inside of an entire ecosystem. And if you step back and you deal with that elephant one piece at a time, you'll break it down. And then you'll start to see that there's more to life beyond what you are currently experiencing. Do not lose control of yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. Do not get stuck in a downward catastrophic spiral that is conquering and consuming far too many of us. There's life beyond right now. There's life beyond the elephant. There's life beyond your perspective. There's life beyond the traumatic event. There's a such thing as recovery, healing. Yes, we must acknowledge the problem. Then we must deal with the problem and begin to move past the problem. Can I say that means 100% healing? Me personally, I don't think anybody heals 100%. But I do know there's a such thing as getting better. There's a such thing as taking a step beyond the elephant. There's a such thing as being able to enjoy the now, see the zebra, see the gazelle, see the beautiful landscape that lays in front of you, see the entirety of Africa that lies beyond this elephant that we are currently too close to understand that the world is happening beyond that. Whether it be poverty, whether it be a lack of education, a lack of experience, whether it be bias, racism, inequality, whatever event you are currently experiencing, there's life beyond that. There's life beyond that. Start today, as we all should pledge to do, to take care of your mental health. We all should make that a priority. You cannot take care of you unless you deal with the mind. The mind is the most powerful muscle that we have. I don't care what nobody says. You cannot move the body without the mind telling it to do something. You can't speak, you can't hear, you can't see without the mind. Work this muscle so that you can grow the other muscles. Mind, body, and soul. Mind, body, and soul, the trifecta of health. Let's focus and prioritize mental health. Ladies and gentlemen, you all are awesome as always. You are awesome, amazing, wonderful human beings. Don't let anybody tell you anything different. And as always, I'm going to end with this awesome quote. And I love this quote from Denzel Washington. I'm going to keep saying it over and over and over again. But never compromise on who you are. Don't let your mental health compromise who you are. Paraphrasing, but he didn't say that. I just added that part. So let me begin again. Never compromise on who you are. You are born with the capacity to achieve greatness if you so desire. Learning to say no is a critical element to assessing that greatness. Your choices will define you, so make them the right ones. And that's so important when he said learning to say no is a critical element to assessing that greatness. You can say no to that trigger. You can say no to that catastrophic event. You can say no to the downward spiral. You can say no. No, elephant, you will not block my view. I can move beyond this problem, and I will do so. I say yes in the moments that I usually say no. Your choices will define you, so make them the right ones. Do not let your perspective, your limited perspective, stuck in that moment. Seek outside help if you must, because in those moments, it will define you. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, suicide, taking your own life, will define you. Doing something that you can never take back, that you will regret, will define you. 5 seconds of anger will determine the rest of your life. 5 seconds of loneliness can determine the rest of your life, depending on what you choose to do. So your choices will define you. So make sure they're the right ones. Cause and effect, there's consequences to everything we do. And I'll end there, ladies and gentlemen. So please take this time, if you haven't done so already, and download this podcast and share it with your friends. And add it to your daily routine. You can find me on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Overcast, TuneIn, and many, many other podcasting platforms. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is your call to action. Please send me some support. It really does go a long way. You can find me on YouTube at Grind Hard, Hustle Smart, the YouTube channel where this podcast will be in video form. You can find me also at thecharlesjohnson.com. thecharlesjohnson.com. Go to the podcast tab. You can find me there. And if you just want information about me or get in touch with me, you can do it through there as well. Also, ladies and gentlemen, just hot, just published, fresh out the box is the store, thegrindishard.com. thegrindishard.com. You can go on there and purchase merchandise. Leave me a comment. Contact me there. Let me know what type of merchandise you want to see that you would like to rep, and I will make sure it's in the catalog. Ladies and gentlemen, you are awesome, amazing, wonderful human beings. Don't let anybody tell you anything different. Have a good one.
For the record, I'm done trying to make y'all comfortable. For the record, you ain't trying to grow, then it's done for you. For the record, lab on me going all the way. For the record, ain't trying to link, no time to waste. For the record, yeah. For the record, yeah. For the record, for the record, yeah. For the record, for the record. Been a little too nice to y'all. Now I gotta up price on y'all. Snake eyes on dice for y'all. Shoulders on ice for y'all. Frozen. 8-6 all the hate. I won't get involved today. Got lost in the ballin' age. I'm flipping the bars, I'm flipping the. On record, off record, I still count wins when they doubt it. On record, off record, I let them take advantage. I was wildin'. On record, off record deals. Tell them talk to Colin for the quote. On record, off record, I still want the act, not the ghost. Running through it with the young influence. Adolescent presence, I'm succumbing to it. I've been giving yeses when I shouldn't do it. I complete objective, but the moves elusive. And I'm barely moving, but I'm still gon' boost them. I can't work on winners when I know you're losing. So I with the winners and they throw the deuces. Guess I have to pivot, shooting the bazookas for the facts. I need racks, paper cash, buck attacks. That's a joke, tell them laugh. Uncle Sam, buck out the bag. Brody plot, we'll get a whack. Contract, give me the max. I got lab on my back. You ain't that, then it's raps. Whoa, 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 whoa. For the record, I'm done trying to make y'all comfortable. For the record, you ain't trying to grow, then it's done for you. For the record, lab on me going all the way. For the record, ain't trying to link, no time to waste. For the record, yeah. For the